Okay, starting with radicals. So radical is a root, so we can square root things. Obviously, you can also do more than square root things. You can do things like cubed rooting numbers. Okay, restrictions. So what do we know about square rooting values? So we know we can square root. That's right, a positive value. That works. We know the square root is 0. That's okay. We know that. But the thing that doesn't work is when you square root a negative. So therefore, there's going to be restrictions. So what can anybody name? Just name a value. There's going to be lots of values. But can you pick one value that will not work? 1, negative 2. 0 doesn't work. Negative 15 won't work.
2.
Right. Okay, so all those things won't work. How do I pick an inequality? So how do I want to write this? I can write this two ways. I'm going to say x has to be, I'm going to go actually like that. I'm just going to do that. X has to be greater than or equal to 7. For that to work, does that make sense?
Yeah.
X has to be bigger than or equal to 7. You might see me write this. If you prefer to write this, this is fine. X cannot be less than 7. That's the same meaning, right? I don't care how you write it. You can pick method 1 or method 2. So this is me saying I have to have x be bigger or equal to 7. And this is me saying x is not allowed to be less than 7. Okay. Number 2. What do I want? I need it to be bigger or equal to negative 5. Or if I change the format, I don't want x to be less than negative 5. Something like negative 7, that's bad. Okay, the third one, what does x have to be?
0.
At least 0, yeah. So x has to be bigger or equal to 0. If you prefer to write it in the other way, if it's confusing you in the other way, just don't even write it. But I will express, I don't want x to be less than 0. Okay, the last one, be very careful here, it's a little bit different.
Wouldn't it be easier to factor it first?
No, I'm not sure if that will help us on this case. I'm going to use an 8, but what's different? I have to flip the sign. Okay?
Why the other way?
Because think about a value that would work. 8 subtract 2 is still good, right? So I want to be less than 8. If I pick something bigger than 8, for example, 10. 8 subtract 10, now that's bad. Now that's bad. So I don't want anything bigger than 8 to go in there, right? Okay, adding and subtracting radicals. You can only group together radicals when they are like each other. Just like algebra, we can only add x terms with other x terms, right? They're like each other. So here, I can put those together because they're root 3's. So if I have 2 root 3's and I subtract a root 3, you would just get 1 root 3. And I can combine those terms because they're like each other. So if I have a 6 root 7 and then 2 more root 7's, I have 8 root 7's. Okay, so the next one, what can I put together? So I have root 5's and root 5's. So 7 root 5. And I can put the root 7's together. So I had 10 of them, subtract 2. So that's 8 root 7. And then there's a plus 4, which I can't put with anything. It cannot get mixed in there with anything else. Okay. Multiplying radicals. You have coefficient parts and radical parts. You can multiply coefficients with coefficients. You can multiply radicals with radicals. So root 11 times a root 3 makes a root 33. Number 2, coefficient times the coefficient. So there's a 2 in the front and a 4 in the front, giving me an 8 in the front. That's the coefficient. Square root 3, square root 6 makes square root of 18. In the front, there's a 5. Technically, in the front of this one, there's a 1. So the front, the coefficient is 5 root 56. And the last one is the front, 6. The root 10 and the root 10 make root 100. But wait, you know the square root of 100 is 10, not radical 10, right? It's now just the whole number 10, which ends up being, I can put the two values together now, 60. Okay, I'm going to do this one with you next week and flip the page.
This is literally 4 pages of notes.
Okay, multiplying. So you know how to multiply now, but now how to multiply things like foiling and stuff like that. Okay, so with this one, this is a monomial times a binomial. So that's my technique, right? I'm going to just distribute the monomial to the binomial. Okay, follow along. I'm going to go. This makes the front 8 root 15. Okay. This would be a front number of minus 4 root 21. Okay, can you do this one on your own? Same technique. Can you do that one on your own? Okay, did you go 8 and then that's a root 70? And the other one in the front is a 10 and a root 49? That worked? Did you think to change that?
Yeah.
So this would become 10 times instead of root 49, 7. So 8 root 70 plus 70. And some people, this might confuse them and they would combine the 70s, but I can't. Because one's a radical 70 and one's a whole number 70. Those are not combinable things. Okay. Division. Division is the exact same thing as distributing like that, but I'm distributing a division. So I have to, this is kind of what I look like when I'm distributing. I'm going to divide each term by that. Okay, the first one is 11 divided by 2, which is not a whole number. So I'm just going to leave it. 11 over 2. Root, and we have a 33 in a radical and a 3. So what does that divide to? Root 11. Okay, now I'm going to work with the second one here. We have an 8 divided by 2. So plus 4, root. And then if I do the roots, I have a root 12, root 3. So root 4. The last term is there's a minus 16 divided by 2. So minus 8, root. 27 divided by 3 is the roots. So root 9. Oh, we got some stuff here. We have a root 4, which we could just change, and we have a root 9, which we could also change. Okay, so I changed the root of 4 there. You can see what I did. I changed the root of 4 to just the whole number 2, and I changed the root of 9 to a whole number 3. This is 8 minus 24, which is what?
Isn't that 11 over 2? I was like, did we switch something else up? 16.
Okay. And the last 3, now we're into binomials. So what's the technique with 2 binomials? You're going to have to do a 4-part system here. FOIL. Okay, keep your composure, keep all your stuff straight here. Okay, my fingers are on the first 2. So this would be a 10 root 21. Okay, I have my fingers on the outside objects. So whole number 4 root 3. See it? 4 root 3 plus 4 root 3. Okay, I'm on to the insides. Whole numbers together, 40, and then a root 7. Last is an 8 times 2, so 16. Is there anything to break down? Nope. I can't combine anything. We're done. Okay, next. You ready? First times first makes 25 root 9. You see it? 25 root 9. Outsides make subtract 5, negative 5, root 21. On the inside, you should get 5 root 21, positive 5 root 21. Last, you get minus root 49. Okay, here is some things that happen. What happens with that? It just cancels. It makes 0. It adds to 0. And I'm going to change, because the root 9 I can break down. So 25 times 3. And I can also change the root of 49 to be minus 7. Okay, we can do this without our calculator. We can. 75 minus 7 is, oh, look at your mental math. Good job. 68. Okay.
Plus 1.
You probably are going to forget this if I tell you this word, but I'm going to tell you it today, and then we're going to have to try to remember it for next week. These, there's a word for it. They're called the conjugates of each other. Conjugate. They're a conjugate of each other. So what does a conjugate mean? Do you see that they are the exact same numbers with a plus minus? It's the same idea as a difference of squares. Okay? So what happens with a difference of squares or a conjugate? In the FOIL system, you're going to get that to happen. So often you're going to hear me, instead of saying FOIL, I say FLA. And that's why, because I know I can cheat. Okay, because I know that property about conjugates. So just like when I do this, I just do first and last because I know the O and the I cancel. Okay, it's the same idea, plus minus. Okay, number 6. This time I wrote it differently. I have a binomial squared. Okay, you cannot shortcut. You need to understand that squaring something means repeating it twice in multiplication. So the mistake I get is somebody who squares the first unit and squares the second unit, and that's it. But that's wrong because you're missing out on your other terms, your O and your I terms. Okay, so don't cheat. Please just rewrite it twice. Do your whole FOIL system. Okay, go for it. Let's see if we can all get the answer. FOIL it. You got to do all 4 parts. Okay, so this was my 4 parts of my FOIL. We're good? Root 25 plus 4 root 50 plus 4 root 50 plus 16 root 100. Okay, this you can change the root of 25 to just 5. You can also do that with the root of 100. So then 16 times 10. And then what do you want to do with those? You can put them together, add them together, because you can put root 50s with more root 50s. So 8 root 50. And then that's what it comes to. Because I can now put this whole number with that whole number to be 165. Okay. I haven't taught you this yet, but you will not leave your answer like that. This is the lesson that I just skipped. But let's do one quick one. The root of 50, because you did this in grade 10, should be coming back to you. The root of 50 you can change. You did this in grade 10. Do you remember breaking down radicals in grade 10?
No.
Okay, so the root of 50 could also be written as the root of 25 times the root of 2. Do you remember that?
And then, oh my goodness, you can do more.
And then the root of 25 is the whole number 5.
Times up to 8.
40 root 2 plus 165 would be your final answer. But we will get more into that part next week. Do you remember doing that?
Yep, and I hated it.